Shadows of the past don't turn into memory, they come into focus. One photo from June 6, 1944, hidden away in old records, has resurfaced with horrifying definition. When experts used advanced technology and zoomed in, the information they discovered made them pale. Might a hazy photo of Normandy beaches conceal something we weren't supposed to know? Tonight, we lay bare the layers of history's most symbolized battle, but not in words, and not in ink, but in the motionless moments recorded by the lenses of cameras. What was shown in this one photo could change how we view D-Day forever. If this kind of story touches your heart, if you're someone who cares about truth, responsibility, and speaking up for the voiceless, please like this video, subscribe to our channel Spark Science, and share it with someone who should hear it. Let's get started. War photography has traditionally been fraught with paradox. While it presents evidence, an unshakable documentation of reality, it stops something that was never designed to be halted: chaos. The D-Day invasion of June 6, 1944, is remembered in grainy, urgent black and white photographs. They have been reproduced in history books, embedded in documentaries, and displayed in classrooms globally. But one photo of all, forgotten for decades in military records, has emerged anew with chilling distinctness. When originally taken, it appeared to be nothing but another stormy view of Omaha Beach. Soldiers rushing knee-deep through water, rifles held in front of them, smoke obscuring the distance, landing craft dissolving into fog. To the cursory glance, it was heroism frozen in silver nitrate. To the thoughtful viewer, however, something was amiss in its framing. The photo had been shot at an odd angle, an extremely acute view that didn't merely catch the soldier in the foreground but followed on a broad sweep of shoreline behind him. That angle, probably accidental in the melee, would prove crucial later. As researchers started digitally sharpening the photo many years later, their initial aim was straightforward: recognize the units, follow insignias, cross-match the faces to rosters. But as pixels began to clear, something else emerged. At the fringes of the chaos, dim outlines moved against the blurred background of war. Amongst the shattered hindrances was a black silhouette. It was vertical, too precise to be wreckage, and much too motionless in contrast to the bent men who ran through flames. Some swore it was another soldier in stride. Others claimed it resembled a figure standing relaxed, observing. Records had assured there were no Allied troops at that coordinate, and no German was recorded. Who, or what, had been there? The statement: the longer they gazed, the more they had questions. Zooming again made mystery unease. The head of the silhouette grew razor-sharp into a face. Clear. Human. Irrefutable. This was not a blur of film grain but someone caught in jarring clarity. His uniform, however, was off, mismatched, pieced together from disparate sources. His helmet showed no Allied markings, nor German. And his look. It was distant. Not fear. Not panic. Unworried. Historians combed records on both sides. No rosters, no prisoner rolls, no casualty rolls, no photos matched him. He was in that one picture, and nowhere else. Some proposed a French civilian, but the theory didn't hold up. Civilians did not accompany the French on Omaha Beach that morning, and his posture exuded military bearing. The more sinister theory? A spy. Allied and Axis forces employed agents to spread disinformation and gather intelligence on defenses. But a spy coolly walking around the most photographed invasion in history? If that was his role, he was irresponsible, or above the law. The creepiest part came from his eyes. Enlarged under new AI resolution, the man's stare wasn't at the beach, or the soldiers, or even the mayhem around him. His eyes stared straight into the camera. Thousands of ghostly faces rushed in panicked desperation that morning, but this one was different, immobile, as if aware of being watched. And when researchers combed through records of facial features, recruitment photos, and family trees, nothing showed up. In an age where almost every soldier's face can be identified, his was a void. A nameless identity. A nationalist soldier. Then came the object. When experts upgraded the figure's hands, they anticipated a rifle, a pack, a grenade. But what he held was none of them. It was not an M1 Garand, not a German Kar 98K, not any firearm familiar to World War II. Rather, his hands held boxy, metallic thing with sharp edges that shone differently than ordnance steel. At first, officials believed it was salt spray distortion. But successive passes verified it, the object existed. It was not a weapon, not an identified instrument, and not combat refuse. Some believed it to be a prototype, an illicit device field-tested in the cover of war. Others claimed it looked not like a weapon but gear, something scientific, something to capture or broadcast. But why would a man stand quietly on Omaha Beach with such a device in his hand, as soldiers were dying all around him? The oddest thing came from dim imprints carved into its side. Not scratches. Symbols. Some swore they were German alphabet letters, others that they were Allied codes. Some said they didn't look like any alphabet known. Historians debated themselves in circles. But then the analysts shifted their scrutiny to the sand beneath the man's feet. What they saw chilled them even more. Underneath the figure's boots, pale lines etched into damp sand started to form. They resembled scuffs from boots at first. But as magnification removed the blur, letters formed. Some claimed to have read "No time." Others affirmed it was not them. A few were convinced it was initials. Whatever the interpretation, one thing was sure, they were intentional. Someone had taken valuable seconds during the chaos of D-Day to scribble in the sand. This was not a mistake. It was a message. And it was left precisely where the mysterious individual stood. Even more unsettling. In the archives, along with the photo, researchers found the photographer's field notebook. One page had been ripped out, the exact date the photo was shot. On the facing page, in faint pencil, only one note remained, told not to publish certain frames. Each photo contains not only what is visible, but what the person behind the camera intended. This was taken by soldiers who survived Omaha, camera in hand, photographing chaos. His book was all coordinates, drawings, soldiers' names. But the page for June 6, 1944, was missing. Ripped off carefully, not worn off. Military censors always censored some photos, out of respect for morale, for security, so as not to display the dead in too graphic a manner. But this little note was different. Certain frames. Not categories. Individual shots. Someone had put their finger on it. Researchers matching records found that some of his photographs were actually labeled restricted. They had disappeared into archives, never accounted for, never printed. The repressed batch contained the enigmatic figure. Subsequent letters from the photographer alluded to sinister secrets. In one, he stated, "Some shots I never wanted to take, but they wouldn't let me throw them away either." He was a young man who died young, just a few years after the war, officially of acute illness. Conspiracy or accident? No one could know. But the suspicion remained, had he been silenced? And if so, why had this single photograph survived at all? Then, the analyst stretched the far depth of the frame, and stopped. In the shadows of a destroyed bunker on the far side of the picture, there were two glints. Initially thought to be scratches, constant examination verified otherwise. They were eyes. Positioned high in the shadows, they held the dawn with unblinking composure. Not combat tunnel vision. The eyes of someone observing. Removed. Observing. But the bunker they had occupied had been destroyed, records said, when the landing craft came ashore. It had been shredded by the Allied bombardments. No German defenders were meant to survive there. And here were eyes, peering at them out of the rubble. The psychological portrait unsettled experts most of all. Omaha survivors described fear so overwhelming it obliterated memory. But this look was different, observers' detachment. Failing to fight for life. Staring as if already knowing the result. When online forums analyzed the picture, some took it a step further. The eye's reflections appeared more defined than the rest of the photo, as if they did not exist in 1944 at all. And then, as if history itself would not remain buried, another envelope turned up. Misidentified. Lost. A yellowed roll of film bearing the initials of the photographer, stamped June 1944. Restored, it showed frames snapped mere minutes from the notorious shot. Some were typical, troops rushing the beach, smoke waving into the sky. But interspersed among them were shots smeared beyond identification, as if something had moved too close to the camera. Some even appeared double exposed, as if realities doubling over one another had been caught motionless in one moment. And there he was once more. The figure. A little nearer this time, acuter. Carrying the same metal object. Stood stock still as madness swirled about him. A slight smile at the edge of his lips. At his feet, the message in the sand stood out plainer than ever. Now the lost notebook page, the cryptic photograph scribbles, and the restricted marks on his photographs fell into place with horrifying coherence. Someone had taken a lot of trouble back in 1944 to keep these images out of sight. For almost 80 years, they managed. Only now, with painstaking restoration technology, are they back. And the evidence that experts blanched when they first laid eyes on them confirms one thing: even history's most documented events still have secrets to hide. The Normandy landings marked the turning point of World War II. The day of honor, confusion, and sacrifice. But in these photographs is another story, incomplete, disturbing, perhaps never to be told. Was the figure a spy? A soldier whose existence was deleted from files? A test of clandestine technology? Or something that defies all defenances of history? The truth can never be known. What is known is this: somebody, somewhere, labored to bury these frames. And somebody else, years later, made sure they would come back. The photo is no longer a war relic. It is an enigma, etched in light and shadow, whispered in sand and steel, and honed by time itself. Shadows of the past don't fade. They cut. And occasionally, they stare back.